Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I am Melissa Mullinex. I'm the new Chief of Staff. And when I say new, I'm really like 3 months new. So bear with me if I don't get this all 100% right today. I am delighted to be here on behalf of our General Manager, Jeff Parker, who couldn't be here today. The November board meeting, which is tomorrow, has kept him away. You guys may have noticed we've had a couple of pretty intense board meetings this fall, so looks like that will be the case again tomorrow, and then maybe we'll get a break in December, but he sends his regards. And wanted me to let you guys know that he really values the partnership that MARTA has with each of you. And I'm not going to remember who is famous for this quote, but some really funny British writer probably about the person who knows the cost of everything but the value of nothing. And Jeff is definitely not that person, and MARTA is not that agency. And I would say very strongly that we are clear about the value of our partnership in two big ways. One is it's critically important that we have this feedback loop in this relationship to improve our service to the riders and to the communities that we serve and that you guys represent. And secondly, that as MARTA is the steward of this public money, and it serves a tremendous public good of transit across the region. But where we can leverage that public money for triple and double good is when we can use it to create opportunity and expand capacity in minority communities, and with DBEs, with women-owned businesses and small businesses. And so we're clear that MARTA is not just obligated to use that money for transit, but for double and triple good to grow wealth and opportunity. And so that's why we're here today. You're going to hear from folks in our HR department about opportunities for employment in your communities. You're going to hear from our capital program guru, Dave Springstead, about the opportunities that are before us. And then you're going to hear about the procurement process. And this today is really, Dr. Goode does a tremendous job here of reaching out to the communities and keeping this conversation going, but this is just another milestone. We're going to continue this. And as we sort of look forward in the next short term and long term, we have the biggest expansion in MARTA's history since its birth almost 40 years ago. Not just with the $2.7 billion in the city of Atlanta, although that's a pretty big number, but with the commuter rail in Clayton County and the bus rapid transit in North and South Fulton. And DeKalb is also working on their transit plan. When that's finished, they may go for a referendum. And then of course the opportunity that's on the table in Gwinnett in March is tremendous. And so we're going to need all of your help to execute on those programs that have been funded, but also to make possible the ones that are on the table. We won't pass Gwinnett without the support of all the folks in this room. And when I say we, I mean they. Gwinnett won't pass that because MARTA won't be running that campaign. Great. Great. And so that's what's before us, and it's a huge opportunity, and we want you to know that we intend to share it with everyone in this room and beyond. And with that, I will ask Dr. Shelton Goode to come up. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
While she brings that up, that's me. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Evelyn. Good morning again. I guess I'll stay by here. So why are we here today? As I look around the room, I see colleagues, I see friends, I see partners. As I was saying to Sashi this morning, family, people that I've known for a long time. So let me just again reiterate a couple things that Melissa talked about, and then I'll set some context for the briefings that's going to come. And talking to Jeff, I know if he was standing here right now, he would say that with everything that we have before us, not just challenges but opportunities, we're looking for all the partners that we can have. So As I look out there and I see my friends from the Atlanta Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce and Transformational Journeys, the Latin American Association, WHOSU, and Asian American, and just others. We are really, Georgia Diversity Council, WISERS, really excited about MARTA's future and the opportunities that we have. And so we are, the message that we want you to take away from today is that we're open for business, we've got tremendous opportunities, and we need you guys out there talking to your various members and constituents, giving them facts about what is happening with MARTA. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that we have one of our board of director members here, Mr. Bob Dallas, and I want to take some privilege and say, do you want to jump up and say anything?
No, I never. You know, this is your last day. So you need to celebrate it. So thank you for doing this.
Yes. So let me go ahead and jump into this and talk about where we see partnership opportunities for us to work together. And again, this is just to set some context for some of the presentations that's coming afterwards. We have, I mean, MARTA and what's happening with transit is just incredible. We've got opportunities to improve, to increase, invest, and innovate. And a couple things you should know about our transit agency. We are the 9th, 8th, we kind of go back and forth. Obviously, in terms of size, obviously what we want to do is be the best. And we feel like we can do that by making sure that partners like many of you here in the room understand about the opportunities that we have. Again, we've got the Super Bowl coming, the eyes of the world is on Atlanta, we've got transit opportunities, and so that has placed MARTA front and center of the country in terms of what's going on. Someone said, Peter Drucker said, you know, if you want to predict your future, then create it. And that's essentially what we're doing at MARTA. As I said, we are open for business, not just around procurement, but as you're going to hear from Dave Springstead and the AGM of our capital programs, we are also hiring. Just think about that. You may have heard, if you watch the news, you may be confused about what is actually happening in both the national and the local economy. One day the market is up like crazy, the next day it's down. One day you hear that we're on a short list for Amazon, the next day you hear that a couple of premier companies in our area are laying off people. We are hiring. You're going to hear from LaShonda Dawkins, our AGM of Human Resources. We need law enforcement officers. We need bus drivers. We need rail operators. We need mechanics. We need office support. We are hiring. And so as you communicate and talk to people in your communities, they should have us out, challenge us to come out and have career fairs and job fairs so that we can let the folks in your communities know of these great opportunities around employment. We're talking about good paying jobs, we're talking about stable jobs, we're talking about jobs that can help you put kids through college and be able to do some other things to support your family. I'm really excited about a lot of things that we're doing in the community. I mean, if you follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, you will see our pictures everywhere. We're doing things with law enforcement. We're doing things with children. We've got board members and senior execs riding the streetcar. We've got scavenger hunts. Just lots and lots and lots of great things that we're doing in the community, and that's where you can help us there. in terms of our brand. Let people know. Encourage them to follow the MARTA Army and follow us on Twitter so that they can know that we are a great transit agency. One of the things that makes a transit agency great is accessibility. We are making strides thanks to our MARTA Accessibility Committee that we affectionately refer to the MAC, constantly challenging us to make sure that our system, in addition to being affordable, safe, and secure, is also accessible. Speaking of affordability, we've got, all you have to do, anyone that travels, go to New York, Chicago, LA, and other large systems, and you will find that our system is one of the most affordable, if not the affordable, transit system in the country. As you travel, again, I would challenge you to look to see what other transit agencies are doing, because we are improving in every aspect. We've got the Avis project where we're improving signs. We've got an ambitious escalator elevator improvement project to improve our accessibility. And our customers already think that we're doing a good job, but when we finish these major projects, we're expecting to see even higher satisfaction from our customer. One of the things that's unique about our system that I'm very proud of is the fact that we have a ride with respect policy and a code of conduct on our system. Again, I challenge you, travel the country, travel some of these other systems, and see the shenanigans you see on their systems, and you won't see those on our system. If Chief Durham was here, she would say, we really need your help get some facts out to dispel some myths. I was at a Georgia Diversity Council panel meeting just last Friday, and a person who's a CEO of Wellstar was on the panel with me, and she was fidgeting because she had to catch a plane. That we were right over at the Westin, and she was fidgeting because she had to catch a plane tomorrow. And I said, why are you fidgeting? All you can do is walk right across the street to walk right down the street, jump on MARTA. You'd be at the airport in less than, from here, less than 15 minutes. She said to me, and she said it without even, really thinking that she's talking to a senior leader from MARTA. She says, I'm afraid of MARTA. And then she says, oh, I'm sorry. And I said, well, don't be sorry. I says, you just moved here. You've not even been on the system. And so I don't know where that came from, but we could use your help. We've got one of the safest and securest systems in the United States, and that's due in large part to the combination of Chief Dunham's efforts and our Ride with Respect policy. Again, we talked about the fact that we're very affordable. But then as you look at the amenities of our stations and the fresh food markets and some of the other amenities, again, very, very proud of the things that we are doing. And we're going to show off when Super Bowl gets here. Again, tremendous opportunities to increase for growth. You're going to hear from Ben Limmer, and he's going to talk about the fact that our transit expansion, not just here in the city of Atlanta, but again, Gwinnett. He may even touch on some of the things, clear up a couple of things so that you better understand our relationship with DATL. We're very, very impressed with our service, not just to the airport, but overall. We're known for our airport service, but we want that to be, we want people to have that same perception about the entire system. So again, Ben's going to talk about MARTA's transit expansion, and he's going to help you understand what's BRTs, LRTs, and some of these other things. And so we're investing in our system. We are partnering in our communities. If you haven't seen our great artwork around our transit-oriented development and our stations, I would invite you to take a Beltline tour and take a MARTA system tour and see some of the art that we have. Really excited about if our folks on transit-oriented development, if Debbie Franks was here, she would tell you about all the great things that we're doing to have people have easy access to transit and our transit-oriented development. You heard me talk about our art, which is, I'm very, very, very proud of the investment that we've made in our art and the exposure we've given to some artists. Again, we're innovating like crazy. We talked about our technology innovations, the Wi-Fi connectivity on the trains, the updated signage that you're going to see again. And we're not just doing that for the Super Bowl. We were, obviously the timing couldn't be better, but these are investments that we are making for the long haul. So again, as my partners come up and talk to you and go into more details, you should be proud that you live in a region, have a system that services, and just think about this. Right now, we only serve the city of Atlanta in 3 counties, and we're the 8th/9th largest. With the addition of Gwinnett and possibly some others, we not only will move up, as we move up in size, we obviously will have expectations to move up in capability, accessibility, while also keeping the system affordable. We are open for business, and we're counting on you as our partners to make sure that you arm your members, your associates, your constituents with facts. And again, invite us out for job fairs and invite us out into your areas so that we can talk to your folks. And I think you'll find us very open and amenable to doing that. With that, LaShonda, are you up next? Okay, I'm going to bring up our AGM of Human Resources, who's going to tell you about some of the great job opportunities we have. Thank you very much.
Good morning to each of you, and thank you for having me here this morning, giving me the opportunity to address you, get to know you, and hopefully develop a stronger partnership with you and your various organizations. Great thanks to Dr. Goode for pulling all of us together. This is a wonderful effort, and it's very important and critical to what we're trying to do here at MARTA. So I want to share with you, as Dr. Goode said, we're open for business. We have so many tremendous and dynamic opportunities at MARTA. And sometimes people just fail to realize all that we have to offer. And I would just venture to say that, as I've been with MARTA about 12.5 years, and as I move on my journey through the agency and my horizon to my 13th year, I would just say that my career at MARTA is really evident of how there's so many opportunities within the system. I've had the pleasure and privilege to kind of meander through various disciplines at the agency. I began my career at MARTA as a litigating attorney, doing labor and employment litigation. Since that time, I've transitioned to HR executive opportunities. I had the wonderful pleasure of working with our planning, technology, and police department in an executive role over the last 4 years. So it has been a tremendous journey. When I began at MARTA in 2006, I really couldn't have predicted that the horizon would take me to where it has today. So this is definitely a place of opportunity. This is a great time to be at MARTA. As Dr. Goode said, we're getting ready to do all kinds of expansion. You'll hear from Dave Springstead. He has been with us even longer than myself, and he will be able to share, the various transitions we've done. We're in a period of growth. In those early years when we were building stations, increasing our rail line, and then we had a period of just stability and really just maintaining the infrastructure that we have. Well, now we're on our additional path of growth, and I just would like to share with you that we see exciting things coming and the best is yet to come. So why MARTA? So I know, as we say, we have a lot of opportunities, but why MARTA? And what I would say our key message is, for motivated people with long-term goals, MARTA offers the tools and opportunities that can lead to a successful career. And if you ever come to our agency, our organization, one of the most exciting things to do is to participate in a bus operator graduation. When we're bringing in our frontline people and they're graduating the program and they're getting ready to launch their MARTA career, they hear from a lot of different leaders in the organization, and they tell them about their journey. You hear from people who will tell you, I started as a bus operator at MARTA and now I'm the director of bus. I started hustling buses and now I'm the director of rail. And that is a legacy that we continue to have at MARTA. So if you're motivated and you have long-term goals, there's a career waiting for you. And it may not look like what it did when you first started. And you will have the opportunity to grow and really follow your dreams. So many people understand why you would want to work for MARTA. Some of the historical reasons. It's a great company. It's a company that touches the lives of people. We make lives better in our region. So that's one of the things that we kind of focus on. We have rich benefits that we offer. So some of the traditional reasons why people will work for MARTA are those. But going forward, some of the things we'd like to focus on now are some of the offerings that we have to grow our workforce professionally. We have MARTA's Talent Next initiative for entry-level employees to grow their careers in transit. So our Learning and Development Director has developed a cadre of programs that really focus on when you come into the agency, what do you need to grow professionally in your career, to establish career paths, so you can see where your career could possibly go. We offer technical training for people to advance their technical skills. There's so many groups within the agency. You heard Dr. Goode mention bus, rail. If you ever really think about those sophisticated buses or those very sophisticated trains, we have a lot of sophisticated equipment and assets that we work with, and they give you a wide variety of opportunities. And as technology continues to grow, the workforce will need to change, and the technical skills that you need will need to change. So a basic mechanic at this point has been working with hand tools and things of that nature, but now we have so many systems, so we need to continue to train that workforce so they can work with the sophisticated systems that are used to fuel these equipment of the future. We have a professional development academy that we launched this year. It's open to all employees. It's a self-paced program that lets you kind of decide what skills you may need when you're trying to improve your knowledge, skills, and ability. So it's a host of different programs and training things that we do internally. You can identify your availability to participate, and you can do it at a self-paced level and get the skills that you as an individual are seeking. We also have MARTA's Leadership Development Academy, which is delivered in partnership with Atlanta's Carl Vinson Institute of Government. And again, this is how we develop our management team. So those who are already in management and striving to move further in leadership, we have opportunities for them as well. And again, those wholesale benefits that you really want to be able to offer your employees, like tuition reimbursement. So when you're at MARTA, these are some of the career opportunities that we have. This first slide really focuses on those opportunities that are volume jobs that we have. So these jobs, we're typically hiring year-round. We need significant numbers and volume. Some of these are our most skilled trades, our frontline staff who really are the face of MARTA. They are what make MARTA great. So our bus operators, we are in great need of operators right now. Those of you who are watching the news, you see that there's a driver shortage nationwide. Not only in the transit industry, school bus operators are at a premium at this point. So everyone is looking for skilled CDL drivers, and we're no different. We just hosted a large job fair just last weekend, 2 weeks ago, at our MARTA facility, where we were focused primarily on bus operators. Great opportunities there. Bus mechanics, we need a number of bus mechanics, rail car mechanics, electronic technicians, customer service representatives. Now in this area, we definitely need customer service representatives, but we absolutely need bilingual customer service representatives. So I will say that again for my partner Donna DeJesus, we need bilingual customer service representatives. Obviously, it's really important that we communicate with our riding public as well as the public who, they may not be riders, but they need information about MARTA. And so these are the individuals who are there to accept those calls at all hours and really provide the information you may need to transition on the system, understand how the system works, report activity. So it's very important that they are excited, engaged, and we absolutely need those with multilingual skills. So please take that back to your organizations. Project managers. When you hear Mr. Springstead tell you about what he does in various capacities, there are tremendous opportunities for project managers. I know in Atlanta, this is a big market for certified PMPs, and that is absolutely a skill that we need. Now, in most cases, we don't require that you have a PMP, definitely some experience, demonstrated experience in project management, but those opportunities are on the capital side, information technology, almost every discipline that we have. If you have large-scale projects or even routine small projects, we have a need for project managers. Transit police officers. It's a wonderful career. We need police officers. Again, this is one of those national phenomena as well. So around the country, there's definitely a need for law enforcement. All of the agencies are looking for people. What we do want to communicate, because some people think we're making these pitches just for the Super Bowl, and that is not true. We need people for the sustainability of our system. We need people to grow this organization. As Mr. Limmer comes forth to tell you all about the More MARTA opportunities, we need people to make sure that More MARTA is a successful and great program and continues to grow. So this is not a Super Bowl initiative. We went as far as to Puerto Rico probably several months ago looking for police officers. Under the leadership of Chief Dunham, they had some research tools that they utilized that demonstrated that there was a large population of law enforcement individuals in the Puerto Rico area that wanted to look for jobs. Now, a lot of that may have had to do with the recent tragedy that they had, but we saw a place where we could get some people who really were motivated to work, really wanted to work, and possibly would consider relocating to Atlanta. So that was a major initiative that they did, and I'm excited to say that we're going to be onboarding many of those individuals this week. So some of them came aboard this week, and they will be starting the academy on November 5th. So that is very exciting. I think we're hopefully having about 23 new officers in the academy on November 5th. So I know Board Member Dallas, he knows the pains that we've had in terms of trying to recruit our officers. So that's one success story that we will continue to tout. But again, additional positions exist. We continue to recruit, and we need people who really want to work, want to serve the community. Now these, I really want to focus, they're more professional areas. So in these instances, we have positions, multiple positions, but they may not be the volume jobs. You know, for example, I could tell you we still need 20 plus police officers, you know. And with bus operators, we want to recruit 80 bus operators a month. You know, so that's an ongoing need. There's probably not going to be a day that we're going to say we don't want to hire a bus operator. And one important thing to know, you didn't hear us mention rail operator. And for that reason is mainly because we grow our rail operator talent from our bus operator talent. So again, that's why there's such a great pressure for us to continue to recruit skilled and responsible, customer-focused bus operators, because when we recruit them in, at some point in time, some of them will exit out to become our rail operator workforce. So they feed our rail operator pipeline. So you may not hear people, when we go out and we do our sessions like this, we may not talk directly about rail operators, but Mr. Springstead will tell you we have a great need for them as well, but it's just that we grow them out of our bus operator rank. Now in this case, again, we have opportunities in our accounting and finance area, many of them in the accounting area, accountants, accounting 1s, 2s at various levels. We have opportunities in my department in human resources. We have some manager opportunities, director level opportunities. In planning, I don't want to sidetrack Mr. Limmer when he gets up here to talk about More MARTA, because he could probably spend his whole time talking about all the opportunities within his area, because again, to fuel those major projects that we have in place, we need some really good planning talent. So there's a lot of opportunities in our planning department. We have some recent opportunities in our grants programs area. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of work you can do. Administrative, as Dr. Goode pointed out, in marketing and sales. We have engineering needs. Almost every discipline within our organization has vacant positions that we want to fill. Right now, I think we are actively working on over 300 jobs that we're trying to recruit at present. So this is just the present day, what we want to hire right now. So there's an ongoing need, and that's really what's great about MARTA. People think of buses and trains, and we're glad that you think of buses and trains. They're the heart and blood of what we do. But there's so many opportunities to work in a highly technical atmosphere and to actually do the work. So in many areas, when you go to do a job, when you first start and you're a young professional, you really get the grunt work, for lack of a better term, and you really don't get to see all of the opportunities. You really have to put in a lot of time. It may take you 5-8 years before you really get to some interesting high-level experiences, but that's not the case in our environment. So we have highly sophisticated projects. The AVIS project that Dr. Goode mentioned is our signage project, the audio-visual project, that when you go into the systems, the audios that you hear, the visual signs that you see, highly technical, highly skilled. Tunnel ventilation, there are all kinds of major projects. Our rail car initiative. Think about how exciting it would be to be on that ground level team that goes out and travels to see different rail cars under construction, the different systems that are used to build these cars, and be able to be a part of the team that helps select what should be in the next MARTA rail car. So there's so many opportunities at MARTA that people kind of fail to think about. We have every discipline that you can imagine: attorneys, auditors, accountants, engineers, architects. So the list goes on. So how do you access the career at MARTA? So our entire application process takes place online. We have an online system, and in the presentation I have the link there on how you access our website. Applicants will need to create a profile, and so this is one thing if you're talking to your constituents, stakeholders, partners, and friends that we want you to share, because sometimes people get confused when they're accessing these online web systems. You need to create a profile that really takes in your demographic information. That's where you kind of do your email password. And if you continue through the process and become a successful candidate and ultimately an employee, that's where we pull the demographic information from to build your employee file. So first we need the profile with some demographic information. And then the second layer is the actual application itself. So sometimes we do have some applicants who may get a little confused, and they do the profile and they think they've applied for the job. So they're really, it happens pretty seamlessly, but there are two separate things that you're doing. And one thing that is very important, if the individual worked with us before, they should follow the link for ex-employees. Because if an ex-employee tries to follow the link for like a new employee, we already have some information on you and you will kind of get flagged out of the system. So it's very important that if you've ever worked at any point from MARTA, that you follow the links for a former employee. So are there any questions that I could answer for you, or anything you'd like to share or ask about as it relates to the exciting opportunities at MARTA? I hope I've conveyed to you that we definitely want to partner with you and the groups and individuals that you represent, and I feel like there's always going to be an opportunity and the right opportunity at MARTA. Any questions? Well, thank you for your time, and I believe Mr. Springstead is up next.
Good morning again. How's everybody doing? Okay, you all set? You all ready to go? Okay, good. Okay. Wow, what a group of folks here. We had Melissa, our Chief of Staff. We had LaShonda, our AGM of Human Resources. We have Ben coming up here. We have Dr. Goode here, who has been excellent professional that we're going to sorely miss. Gosh, where do we start here? Relationships. Okay, so I'm going to show you hopefully a lot of eye candy because I can really geek out on this stuff. I love all this stuff. Ben, keep me in control, okay? I love talking about MARTA. I love talking about what we do. I love talking about the opportunities that we have here because we do a lot of great stuff. And if anybody thinks MARTA is your everyday quasi-government agency where everybody just kind of comes in and clocks 8 and goes home, it is a rapid-paced place with a lot going on, and what I love about MARTA is no one day is ever the same. I think everybody that works here is like, every day is just something new. And it's really fantastic. And the bottom line is you're only as good as your weakest link, right? So if HR isn't recruiting the people I need to deliver projects and run rail service, and Ben isn't connected on the expansion projects, and MARTA doesn't grow and seek out new ridership and new revenue opportunities, right? And Dr. Goode over here with our partners, our consultants and our contractors, they don't have enough staff right now. When we put a contract out, they bid the contract and it's like, oh my goodness, I won the contract, where do I get the people? So people are struggling just to put a workforce together to deliver on their projects. So when we talk opportunity, MARTA in itself, Atlanta is a great city, okay, but MARTA is a city unto itself. $6 to $7 billion in investment in the Atlanta area, and we spend roughly about $250 to $300 million a year keeping it going. Not to mention we spend about $400 million a year running the service. So if you want to use round numbers, MARTA is $1 billion a year business, capital and operating, okay? And when I talk about all these great projects, the other thing I want to drive across, I am the AGM of Capital Programs, and I am the interim AGM of Rail. But when we say operations, there's many, many, many operating contracts at MARTA, and everybody forgets about them. Everything from pest control to custodial services, okay, to general building, wall constructions, floors, ceilings, MEP for you geeks there that are mechanical, electrical, plumbers, and you want to talk about that stuff. But there's technology jobs, there's accounting jobs, there's engineering jobs, there's project managers, there's field inspectors. Not all of these do you have to have a fancy degree. A lot of them you can work your way in to the agency. I got there in '97, okay, and I started out as a manager, director, senior director, assistant general manager. I'm 21 years as of the end of October with MARTA. I spent 10 years with Raytheon Engineers and Constructors, private sector, and I came to MARTA and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna last in this job. I'm gonna come in and be out of here in like 6 months. 21 years later, I'm like, holy cow. So the other thing I gotta say is you can make a living at MARTA too, okay? Because it is a great place to work. It's a lot of fun. And I have 4 daughters, okay? Boston University, Vanderbilt, 2 graduated from Georgia. I got 2 at Alabama, 1 in grad school. So the bottom line is if you're going to put a family of 4 daughters through college, you need a good job. Okay, MARTA is a great place to work. Okay, so let me get moving on here. I'm going to show you some what I call eye candy. It's eye candy to me, okay, because it's very exciting. And we're not going to go through all the words on the slides, but I want you to look in the upper, well, let's call it the center of the slide there. That's about $792 million to purchase new rail cars. So when you talk about MARTA, and we train up rail operators and bus operators, your average rail car is between $2.5 million and $3.5 million a pop. A bus is somewhere between about $380,000 and about $600,000, depending on how fancy it is. Because we have articulated buses, we have 30, 35, and 40 footers, and then we have mobility vans, and the mobility vans are over $100,000 each. So when you look at our fleet, we have a lot of fleet. So we need operators, mechanics, techs, fueling. It's very exciting. So buses, we're going to invest $266 million in buses over the next 10 years. Okay, and we need all shapes and sizes because not every street in Atlanta is the same width, right? Some of these neighborhoods, you can barely drive through these neighborhoods, so we have to have smaller buses, okay? And the mobility, the ADA community, the demand is growing. That's one of the fastest growing areas is mobility. People need to get around. They don't want to be stuck at home. They need to go shopping, and they deserve to have access to service, and we want to provide the service. Problem with ADA services is the return on investment, other than helping the community, it's an expensive service. It's door-to-door service. It's not cheap. Okay, it's expensive. Tunnel ventilation, LaShonda, you were doing good on all that techie engineering stuff. HR lady, right? Rock on, okay? I like that. That means she's listening to us, right? So tunnel ventilation, we've got 9.1 miles of tunnel in the Atlanta area that nobody thinks about. But if there was ever an incident, okay, you've heard about horror stories at some of the other properties around the country where you get stuck in the tunnel, it's full of smoke, you can't get out. We're investing $157 million in our tunnel system. And the beauty of that was when they had an incident at one of our peer agencies that I can't name, but the president is there, and it sounds a lot like MARTA, the name. They had an incident a couple of years ago that was really bad. We already had a multi-million-dollar contract spec'd out and on the street when that incident happened. So what I gotta say is no matter what anybody thinks about MARTA, we're very progressive, we're thinking way ahead. Okay, we're not just your typical government agency, we are thinking way ahead, 20, 30 years ahead, and Ben's gonna share some of that with you. We got other things, train control system. The train effectively drives itself. The only thing really the operator does is look down the track for safety and open and close the door. Everything else on the train is autopilot. The trains run on their own. So we're investing in a new train control system. The original system was put in for the Olympics. It was rehabbed a couple of times, but now it's time to step into the modern world and really upgrade our train control and our SCADA system. Supervisory control and data acquisition. All the alarms at MARTA come into our central integrated operations center. We now have bus, police, and rail all sitting in the same theater for immediate emergency response. And we built a brand new emergency operations center, but it's so secret I can't tell you about it, okay? But it's in the Chambly area, okay? So anyway, energy services and contracting, okay? We're also, we have a big electric bill, like 11, 12 million dollars maybe of electricity that we use every year. We're going through all the stations and putting LEDs in all over the place. We're looking at more efficient use. Our elevators and escalators all have drives on them that are very efficient. So we are looking at everything. And the great thing about this is our good friends at Southern Company, Georgia Power, every time we get a piece of equipment that's more efficient, we get to put it on a list, send it to them, and they drop our bill a little bit because we're saving energy. So we share in the energy savings, so that if we put in equipment that saves X amount of dollars, we get it. It's kind of like Capital One, right? We're getting a little money back on our investment, which is really great. The other thing is amenities, everything from bus shelters all over. We have many, many facility projects. I just can't name them, there's just too many to name. We have other projects, this is track renovation, okay? We've got 122 miles of track, 45 miles of double track service. So if you think of MARTA, it goes about a dozen miles north, south, east, and west, but then we have 3 rail yards that we have to house our 318 rail cars and work on our 318 rail cars. We have some of the best riding track. If you go to New York, Philadelphia, Boston, and you ride the system, and you're getting shook to pieces, and then you come to Atlanta, we got a couple of spots where it gets a little bumpy, but overall, the track in Atlanta is very, very good. And when folks that are in the transit agency come to Atlanta and they hop on at the airport, and they ride down to Peachtree Center to come here, they're like, wow, this is pretty awesome. Now, like your favorite football team, right? You know everything wrong. They fumble the ball, they don't play good defense, but everybody else thinks your team's good. But because you love your team, you know all the idiosyncrasies. We are very critical of ourselves in Atlanta of MARTA. But when you compare MARTA to all the other transits in the US, we are way up there in service, in incidents related to Part 1 crimes. I mean, we're actually a good transit agency, and we need to be proud of that if we're from Atlanta. So we have escalators and elevators, and you can see the numbers there. We're going to spend about $100 million in escalators, and we're also going to be doing about a little 100 and change on elevators, okay? We have about 146 escalators in the system, okay? And we're not at Dillard's, and we're not at Belk's, and we're not treating them nice, and we're pounding on these things. We're going to SEC football games, and what's the average weight of somebody that goes to an SEC football game, okay? So let's just understand, these escalators and elevators are taking a pounding, okay? So let's be clear on that. This is not your department store elevator and escalator. It's got to be rugged. Okay, UPS is uninterruptible power supplies. The emergency egress and lighting. If the power goes out in Atlanta, our stations will stay lit. You'll be able to exit the station and get out, because some people think tunnels are scary. But rest assured, we have UPS units that we check constantly. There will be lights at Peachtree Center when the lights go out, and you'll be able to leave the station and be fine. Emergency trip stations out on the trackway. It's an energized system. The choo-choo runs on 750 volts DC, okay? That is a serious, serious issue. If we have an incident where we have maybe a perpetrator running down the tracks, or a homeless person makes it onto the tracks, or there's an incident where we have to run out on the tracks, we can hit a switch and kill power in about a half a mile in each direction. The system was designed very well. We call those emergency trip stations, and the blue lights are every 900 feet. So when you're on the system and you need to find one of those in a hurry, you can run to that and hit the rocker arm on it and kill the power. Okay, so there's a lot of safety items in the MARTA system that our riders don't know about. CNG fueling, we've got a lot of CNG buses. About 75% of our fleet are CNG. We still got about 25% that are diesel, and we're putting in a brand new fueling facility down at our Hamilton facility, and we had a nice federal grant that helped us pay for that. Okay, so that's a good project for MARTA. Okay, and then LCARE, Life Cycle Asset Rehabilitation Enhancement, right? That's a mouthful. Rail cars will last 25 years to 40 years depending on which ones you buy. Somewhere in between you have to do a midlife overhaul on them. You got to replace parts. What we learned is in the old days they would wait until the vehicle got halfway old and replace everything. But nothing wears exactly at the same time. So what we did is we chopped up the timeline and found the systems that fail first. So we fix those systems all along the way, and we do it a little bit at a time. So number one is you don't have to spend too much money on it, and you're taking care of the equipment that's failing up front. You're not waiting until it's halfway old. And again, all I have to say is go to Boston, right on the system. Go to Philadelphia, right on the system. Go to Chicago, right on the system. You'll see the difference between MARTA and those cities. AVIS, Audio-Visual Information System. I know we love acronyms. We say, yeah, the AVIS project. And everybody's sitting here going, what are they talking about? Basically audible and visual signs, ADA community, making sure that the sound's getting out there and making sure that the video's out there. How many people really love and enjoy MARTA's PA system right now? Right? It's like, well, function, and you know, like everyone starts looking around. Like, what is going on around here? We're spending a serious amount of money to fix the audiovisual system. Every station is going to get new signs. Every station is going to get new PAs, and it's under construction right now. We got about 5 job sites going right now. We got fire protection. This is a sleeper, right? But I can geek out on this. Over 100 facilities, we've completely redone the fire protection system. So if you're wondering if there's a fire in a MARTA station, it's all brand spanking new. We spent about $60 million getting that fire protection system up and running, and we're right at the end of the contract. Took about 5 to 7 years to do 100 facilities. CCTV expansion, we have more cameras than you can shake a stick at. First, we put them on all the vehicles, okay? A rail car has 10 cameras on it, facing out, facing the operator, and there's another 8 in the cab in each car. So when you're sitting, we got on that rail car, and when they designed the cameras, we got on it, and if there was a blind spot, we said add another camera. There is not a spot on a rail car where if something happens, we can't go back to the footage and look at it. Likewise with the buses, okay? Future radio infrastructure, obviously emergency responders, the radio's got to work when it needs to work. We're investing roughly probably $40 million, 28. Okay, so we've done about $12 million worth of work already, but we got about another 28 to go on the radio system, okay? More MARTA, we're going to let Benjamin talk about that. CIP reserve, we do keep a little bit of money each fiscal year handy. And thank you to our board for allowing us to put a CIP and reserve in there, because if something comes up during the year and we need to spend money on it, we can quickly move the money over, and we don't spend it if we don't have to, but if we need to, we can launch a project almost immediately. AVIS is the signage portion. You've seen some of these signs going up. Enhancements to fare collection. We're modernizing our BREEZE system. The BREEZE system was put in 04. In electronic world, that is like they're fossils, they're relics, okay? So we need to update the BREEZE system. We've got to keep it going strong through the Super Bowl, and it has some age on it. It's got some wear and tear on it, right? Okay. Clayton County, high capacity transit, we're studying that. I'll let Ben talk about that on the planning side. And then research and analysis is another group that works in Ben's area. I'm going to pump you up here, Ben, on the next couple of slides, okay? So don't let me down. Don't let me down when you get up, okay? Anyway, and I want you to score Benjamin's presentation versus mine, please. There's index cards in the back, okay? So I just want you to know that, okay? And then elevator rehabilitation we talked about. Rail-bound equipment. We got a lot of specialized equipment that you have to put on the railroad to fix the ties, to fix the rail, to fix the concrete, to fix the signals, and this is all unique, handcrafted, customized equipment. Most of those vehicles cost about $500,000. About $500K on average for most of those. And we got a bunch of them, because you need all kinds of tools to maintain the system. So that's the presentation. Now I'm going to talk for another 30 minutes about me, okay? So, just in general, what I'm trying to say is we talked about operating contracts. You saw all of that infrastructure. You saw all of that service. Vehicles, buildings, high-tech systems. We got a lot of stuff going on, okay? Roughly 5,000 employees at MARTA, plus or minus a couple hundred, right? All right. So we have every craft you can think of. We have every career path you can think of, but the bottom line is we're not going to be successful if we're not partnering with the CIDs, okay, with the legislature, with everybody, with the community leaders, okay, with the public. We need to know where to put the service. We need to know when to put the service out there, how much of the service to put out there, and everything starts with the service, because everything you see here is a result of supporting bus, rail, or mobility service. Because if we're not doing that, then we're not providing the community with any goods and services. Okay, so don't think we're going to do a lot of questions. If you got a question, I'd love to take one. But what I would like to say is I understand it's a two-way street. MARTA needs to provide services. We need to be good at what we need to do. We need to be fiscally responsible. We need to be safe. We need to be reliable. We need to be forward-thinking. On the other hand is we need to hear from our business partners and from the community on what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong. And when we have a joint venture opportunity, we really want you to come to MARTA and give us ideas and work with us. We even entertain now unsolicited proposals. If you have a great idea that's a game changer and you want to bring it to MARTA because you think it relates to transit, bring it to MARTA, okay? So if there's any way we can help you, again, my name's Dave Springstead, AGM and Capital Programs. Just get a hold of anybody on the team here and we would love to help you, okay?
Dave, I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you go. I work for that other transit agency, the one in DC.
Yes, ma'am.
That'll be, we won't name that one.
No, we won't name that.
But my question is, I had the misfortune or the good fortune to be there on September 11th.
Wow.
And how the transit system worked, bus and rail, to get people out of the city and then back into the city. I think there's some important lessons learned there of how to move people in a crisis situation. I'm certainly not going to suggest that you discuss all of that, but I'm sure, does that fall under your purview or someone else's?
You are like the best person in the crowd because this is not staged. But I didn't get to it yet. This is our emergency preparedness drill. We've been meeting routinely over at the Jimmy Carter Center with anybody who's anybody in the Atlanta region. The GBI, the FBI, APD, DeKalb, Fulton, just pick one, and MARTA. We also had a drill at our station where we do mock drills, where we have scenarios, a gas release, a shooting, a hostage situation. So what I want to tell you is we drill at MARTA in order to respond, okay? And I know MARTA police are not here, but they are one of the most capable and most highly outfitted units I have ever seen. And I run the capital program. They have good stuff, okay? They got bomb squad going on there. They've got a SWAT unit going on there, and they have some high-tech stuff. They're really good at their jobs. And normally, when there's an incident in Atlanta and MARTA police respond, you notice the chief always gets her man. Okay, she doesn't waste any time. The MARTA police generally will track somebody down and get them pretty darn quick. They're very good. But I want to thank you for bringing that up because emergency preparedness, particularly to protect the region, and everyone's talking about the Super Bowl, and I'll sit down, but we also have the Chick-fil-A, right, the SEC Championship. We have a big New Year's coming up, and we have the Super Bowl. So December 1st for SEC football lovers, okay? And January 1st and February 3rd, the first week of every month for the next 3 months is a big deal in Atlanta. And MARTA is up for the challenge, okay? So thank you, okay? That's it.
I have no idea how I follow that at all. Dave, that's the first time I haven't heard you take that 30 minutes to talk about yourself. And please don't keep score, because Dave's kid goes to Alabama, my kid will go to Michigan, and if we were keeping score, then I'm sure Alabama would probably come out on top, at least this year. So my name is Ben Limmer. I'm the AGM of Planning here today to talk about the future of MARTA. I'm going to cover a little bit of general information about MARTA. I'm going to try and not be redundant with Dr. Goode, but then we'll look to the future. MARTA has been very successful lately, being a safe, efficiently run, well-maintained system, as you've heard from some of my colleagues here. And that has really resulted in tremendous trust in MARTA, faith in MARTA to invest more public transit dollars for investment in the future. I'm going to skip a couple of these. David mentioned $1 billion organization, about $500 million each in capital and operating. I'm not going to go through this because David certainly did, but I do want to mention two things. Number one, MARTA has been able to actually add services throughout our service area since the Great Recession back in 2008, and we've been doing this all without raising fares once in 7 years. So we have really tightened our belts to really bring forward the most service that we can to all of our customers. As we look forward with a new general manager, CEO Jeff Parker, he's been there about 6 months. He's really focused on creating a new culture at MARTA. You know, he's said that leadership often means far more than holding titles and going to meetings and things like that. It means pursuing our mission to serve all of Metro Atlanta in an equitable fashion. We have spent the last 3 decades moving billions of people throughout our region and really building up MARTA as one of the leading economic forces in our region. And under his direction, MARTA has really grown into one of the nation's premier transportation agencies, not just public transit. Currently, MARTA is now focusing forward on becoming a large-scale, project-oriented organization. Not only everything Mr. Springstead talked about, but we've also been had successes at the ballot box as of late, and we're really focused on expanding MARTA for the first time in 40 years. And so we're really looking at a once-in-a-generation opportunity to invest in our future. And although the way that we've served the city and our region has changed over the years, our commitment is the same. We believe public transportation is far more than a last resort, but really takes a front seat to better serve the people and communities throughout our region. So we also recognize too that MARTA is a primary driver of economic growth. You can see some statistics up here. We've added 2 million people in the last 20 years, and we're looking to add another 2 to 4 million in the next 20. All of those new residents and jobs are going to be further clogging up our transportation infrastructure, and the voters recognize this. You can see here, MARTA's been successful. There was a 1 cent sales tax passed in Clayton County back in 2014. Most recently, the city of Atlanta passed a half-cent sales tax in 2016. And then looking forward, as Ms. Molinax mentioned, Gwinnett County will be seeking a 1 cent sales tax this coming spring. All of these are really driving the overall economic forecast of our region. So now I'm going to jump into the More MARTA Atlanta. Melissa mentioned it at the beginning. I'm not sure what happened to the slide, but More MARTA Atlanta is really the half-cent sales tax program that was passed in 2016 in the city. It's a $2.7 billion program over 40 years. It's a partnership between the city and MARTA, and we're really looking to expand accessibility, connectivity, and mobility within the city to support the future population growth, which I just outlined. Melissa talked about leverage. We are looking to leverage the $2.7 billion over 40 years to finally bring some federal funds back, federal transit funds back to our metropolitan area. We have not secured those major capital project dollars since 2000. But also utilizing those local funds as leverage, perhaps for public-private partnerships, or to seek other local funding sources to build out community improvement districts, and really focus on using that money as wisely as we possibly can. So what's included in the More MARTA program? There's lots of bus service. Local bus service, we're looking at community circulators. Those are kind of smaller vehicles that can access lower density residential areas throughout our city. But some of the premier news services that are part of the MARTA program, there's a 22 miles of light rail. Light rail is sort of like the downtown streetcar, except for it operates in its own lane. It would not be mixed in with automobile traffic. It is an electric railway. It does have smaller capacity. It carries fewer people than our heavy rail train, but is typically in its own lane, either on a city street or kind of next to a public right-of-way. Bus rapid transit is very much like light rail. It is a bus. It's a high capacity bus, so it's usually utilizes those longer, some people call them bendy buses. It's basically rail-like bus service. The bus rapid transit often also has its own lane. There are a couple few bus rapid transit systems that have been constructed in the last decade throughout the US. The most recent one that's going to open is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But bus rapid transit is really seen as a very cost-effective way to move a lot of people throughout our region, and we are certainly focused on that within these cities' sales tax program. And then lastly, 26 miles of arterial rapid transit, which has all the features of bus rapid transit but will operate mixed in with automobile traffic. Atlanta, throughout the past couple of decades, has seen tremendous population and employment growth. As a result, it has made our streets a little more congested, to say the least. But a lot of our public right-of-way is very limited. We simply do not have the space to have a transit-only lane and automobile lanes and parking lanes and bike lanes, etc. We're often faced with 20 pounds of stuff to put in a 10-pound bag. So arterial rapid transit is really one of those high capacity options that we are focusing on for some of the city streets where we cannot utilize a transit only lane. Here's a map of the half-cent sales tax program. The light rail line that I showed you is in, I guess that's orange, but this does include, on top of the light rail bus rapid transit and the arterial rapid transit, we are looking at significant investment in local bus service. The goal is to have local bus service come a minimum of 30 minutes all day, every day. And then also significant investment in our rail stations. We're looking at transformational change there at our rail stations. David talked about replacing the elevators, escalators, and lighting and so on and so forth. But this program would look towards full-scale rehabilitation of some of our more heavily utilized rail stations throughout our system as well. So that's on top of the light rail system. Moving elsewhere throughout the region, just to back up, Clayton County was mentioned at the beginning. It's a penny tax. Half of the penny goes towards a bus system that serves Clayton County. The other half is being set aside for a future high capacity transit route. Clayton County does have 9 bus routes that we're using that half-cent for. Some of our most successful bus routes in our system serve Clayton County, and the ridership there is kind of bucking the national trend. The ridership trend in Clayton County has been up 17% over the last couple of years. We are also, with the high capacity transit side, we are focusing on a commuter rail line to serve between East Point and as far south as Lovejoy within Clayton County. We're in the very early planning stages, but that is a very active project that is part of our future as well. And to support all that, we're looking at a police precinct, some park and ride facilities, operations and maintenance facility, serving Clayton County as well. Moving out to Gwinnett. Gwinnett, again, looking forward to next spring. They recently completed a community-based transit plan. I'm not going to read all this to you, but it has every type of transit solution in their toolbox. But really the backbone of that transit plan is about a 4.5 mile extension of the Gold Line from Doraville further out into Gwinnett County, terminating in the vicinity of Jimmy Carter Road out there. It does also have many of the components that's part of the city's program, bus rapid transit and park and ride, and other ways to access the MARTA system should the vote referendum be successful next spring. Fulton County also completed a transit plan to really focus on the bus rapid transit solution, both in North and South Fulton. Primarily looking at Georgia 400, a bus rapid transit that would operate within the proposed managed lane system that the Department of Transportation is going to build in the next few years. That bus rapid transit route would operate between the North Springs MARTA station and the city of Alpharetta. And then in South Fulton, really focus on a bus rapid transit along South Fulton Parkway, which is going to serve a lot of those new employment centers that have been built out there in the last 5 years. The sales tax is about a 0.2 cent sales tax. The specific date for the referendum is to be determined. And then, of course, DeKalb County, as Ms. Molinax mentioned, they've just launched a transit master plan. They're doing a lot of public outreach in 2018 to really identify the their own transit future, working very closely with the neighborhoods, the community and stakeholders throughout their county. And then they are scheduled to be completed next summer. And they're really looking at all options, just like Fulton County will likely have a very robust bus system as part of their transit plan, while also looking at investment in some rail and other high capacity transit options as well. I'm not going to go through these. A lot of these lists is what Mr. Springstead covered. Very significant investments in rail cars, in making more comfortable places for our customers to wait for MARTA bus and rail services with the bus shelters, and then all of the system elements that Dave mentioned, as well as the technology. So now we're going to think sort of off the rails for just a moment. We are also focused on being more than a transit system, thinking beyond our rail stations, thinking beyond our bus routes and other facilities. Really, we recognize the value that we bring to the region, and really transit options are directly tied to business growth throughout our region. You've seen plenty of news articles about companies relocating and choosing MARTA or choosing to be located next to MARTA rail stations. There's only a handful listed up here, but there's been dozens of corporate relocations, large and small, come to our station areas. And on top of that, the Amazon HQ2 sweepstakes, for lack of a better term, one of their primary drivers of their site selection was access to a high quality transit system. So this is a trend that's going on nationwide, and certainly MARTA has sat in the front seat throughout our region and playing a critical role so workers can access the job opportunities throughout MARTA's system. And then lastly, our TOD program. We have a booming TOD program that really partners with various real estate community partners to create a model where you can live, work, and play along MARTA across our whole service footprint. You know, TODs, I don't need to tell you this, but they really help enhance the surrounding environment by bringing in shops and restaurants and other activities to the existing communities to really complement them while providing direct access to the MARTA system so you can quickly travel throughout our region. We have several active TODs. 3 of them are essentially open, and there's several others coming on the horizon. The Artbound program, we have both still art, we have refurbished and rehabbed a lot of our original art installations throughout our system. And we're also focused on lots of live art. I think many of you who ride our system have heard the pianos and the other live performances. So really focus on improving the overall experience, taking MARTA services throughout our region. And it's really a great way to engage with customers. Just the other day I saw a fairly small child just killing it on the piano. It was really something else to see. And it really allows the community to express themselves throughout art and throughout the MARTA system. And last but not least, the station soccer. I did not tell Jeff that it is a penalty in soccer to hold the ball, but yeah, station soccer. A couple years ago, we opened up the world's first soccer field at a transit facility at 5 Points, where the old amphitheater was, and we just most recently opened up a station soccer site at West End in partnership with Atlanta United and Soccer in the Streets organization, which really gives kids a great chance to have recreational opportunities at a very convenient place to play a pickup soccer game. And of course, it also brings more folks, more riders to MARTA. So that concludes my presentation. I think any or all of us can take questions now. Yes? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Questions for any of our presenters at all? Carlos?
So, I mean, this is Diversity Day partnership, right? Diversity partnership. I guess I'd be curious to hear, from your perspective, what intentional efforts around either employment or culture or anything else, intentional efforts to be inclusive of folks with disabilities, LGBT, Asian, Latino, any, right? So just
Right. So good question. So the intentionality starts with identifying those organizations that are already really good at it, and then figuring out how we can partner with them. So whether it's transformational journeys, or whether it is the Atlanta Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, or whether it is Disability Link or whatever, figuring out with those organizations how we can best partner to both advance both the missions of both organizations. What we're trying to intentionally do today is arm you as partners with as much information so that when, because there's so much that's going on, people are asking questions, we want you to be armed with information, or at least know who to reach out to get the information to share with your partners. Again, whether it's we talk about the AVIS project or even our mobility accessibility committee, there are things that we are doing. We just try to do a better job of talking to partners like you so that you can have the information, or at least be able to know who to tap into to get the information. LaShonda?
And I would just say, from an employment perspective, exactly what Dr. Finn says. We just want to partner with you so that whatever the best method is to tap into your communities, that's what we'll do. So if you say, come out to speak to us at a monthly meeting, so you can share what opportunities exist, or if you have other suggestions, we want to communicate in the best way that meets the needs of your various communities.
Good morning. Also, in addition to that, we oftentimes partner. My name is Antoine Smith in the Office of Diversity, and inclusion. We do partner with the Georgia Hispanic Construction Association, the gay and LGBTQ communities. We actually just partnered just over the last month with the Hispanic Contractors Association, in where we offered them an opportunity to come in and host sessions and to hear from some of MARTA staff as it relates to how it is that we partner. So we are open also to coming in and visiting with your organization, or either your organization coming to our house and just partnering and doing some activities together. So we are definitely open to that.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki Hester, also in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion Manager of D&I. So when we talk about intentionality, and we're looking in-house and having those conversations, in addition to the things that we're doing externally, there's always a focus that needs to be on culture shift as well, right? So how do we make sure that individuals who are in the organization really do have good training, good understanding of how to interact and work well in a diverse and inclusive environment? And part of what we do, and Shonda's organization hosts this every 2 weeks or so, we have new hire orientation. And so we have subject matter experts come out and talk to new hires about things that we consider to be the welcoming messages, as well as those items that are very, very important to the organization. They do ask us to come in and present to those groups every 2 weeks and talk to them about EEO, right? And the things we focus on primarily are not just compliance, but diversity and inclusion, right? So we talk to them about Title VII, we talk to them about ABA, we talk to them about making sure that you understand what are the things that you need to do as an employee to ensure that you are working with respect with the people who are in your work groups, right? And ensuring that everybody has a voice at the table once they are in the company. And so it's very intentional, it's a very well-rounded approach to being intentional with diversity and inclusion, with all of who we want to be working with, partnering with, across our various initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Andrea Barnett, and I am Executive Director of the National Association of Minority Contractors, NAMAC. So I'm interested in hearing exactly what if you have any good faith efforts in terms of percentages, and when it comes to construction contracts for set aside contractors, what that is it changed? Are you in line with any other EEO programs?
Okay. So let me do this. I'm going to let Antoine Smith, our manager of supplier diversity, answer that. But let me at least say this. She's going to probably say we have a very robust goal in terms of our socially and economically disadvantaged business enterprise. We don't have set asides. All of our primes and subs have to compete. Our job is to create a level playing field, and we do that around to make sure, number one, there's compliance with the federal program. Number two, that there's education and development so that people can be developed and increase their capacity, but also outreach so that they're informed and are aware of the opportunities. Antoine?
Yes, in addition to that, our current goal is 22%, 20% on race conscious and 2% on our race neutral. And our efforts are very, very intentional when it comes to identifying opportunities for small and disadvantaged businesses. We work very closely with our capital program, our project managers, contracts and procurement, so that we can identify those opportunities that clearly exist. We utilize a methodology to identify opportunities, and the methodology more or less tells us this is the goal that should be identified for that particular contract. So when we look at opportunities, our expectation is that the contractor or whoever is bidding on projects come back with meaningful useful participation on contracts. We participate in outreach opportunities to express whatever it is, what upcoming contracts. Our team just attended an outreach event with the Georgia Department of Transportation. And with that, not sure what the results of that outreach event was. However, I suspect that it was well attended. And again, that was an opportunity to share any upcoming projects and anything that we have coming coming down the pipe in the immediate. So, and we can talk one-on-one. I know we have talked, and I'm to be a part of your board of directors so that we can work together and get you the proper information.
I think that it's incumbent in this area because there's so much construction activity going on that you're going to have a lot of competition with other projects when it comes to participation across the board with all ethnic and other groups. So we really need to get together and even come to our monthly membership meetings to talk about what projects you have coming down the pipe so that everyone can prepare.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
Whether it's workforce, whether it's financial capacity. So
yes. And we're looking at some other things also as it relates to supportive services. While our team is small, we are in the market for someone to come in and assist us in a way as it relates to bonding, technical assistance, proposal writing, financial assistance. So we are looking at some things to assist the business community, small business community.
I know you guys probably got a number of questions, but I want to be respectful of your time. So let's do this. I'm going to have our chief of staff come and close us out, but the D&I staff will stick around as long as you guys want to answer questions stuff you may have. Okay, Melissa, thank you.
Dr. Goode just thinks I like to talk. I don't. I think this closing out will be very quick because I think the more important conversations that we can have are individually after we break here. So thank you all for coming. You are welcome that we brought the comedic stylings of Dave Springstead. I guess he'll be invited to many more public meetings. We usually keep him in a closet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.